In the name of the Arab people of Syria, the military tribunal, having tried Eliyahu Ben-Shaul Cohen, born in Tel Aviv, on charges of infiltrating military zones, obtaining classified documents prejudicial to the security of Syria, and committing espionage for a hostile state, hereby sentences the accused to death in accordance with the relevant articles of the Syrian Military Penal Code. The verdict was ratified on May 18, 1965, and is final and absolute, executed in the name of the Syrian Arab Republic. Eliyahu Ben-Shaul Cohen, commonly known as Eli Cohen, or by his code name, Kamel Amin Thabet. He was born in December 1924 in Alexandria, Egypt, to a devout Jewish family that had emigrated from Aleppo. He was one of 8 siblings born in Alexandria, holding Egyptian citizenship, and remained in Egypt until his university years. In 1944, Cohen joined the ranks of the Zionist Youth Organization in Alexandria. When the State of Israel was established, his family immigrated to Israel. However, he remained in Egypt to coordinate the migration of Egyptian Jews and to provide intelligence. On July 15, 1954, Egypt was rocked by a series of bombings targeting British and American facilities, including cinemas. The following day, a second wave of sabotage began across various other sites in Alexandria. Initial suspicion fell upon the Muslim Brotherhood, who opposed the evacuation agreement with Britain. However, Egyptian authorities soon revealed that these terrorist acts, which caused an international outcry, were orchestrated by the Zionist Youth Organization, consisting of 12 young members. The members were arrested and prosecuted. This incident is known as Operation Susanna, or the Lavon Affair. Cohen was a member of the Zionist Youth Organization, but he was released due to a lack of sufficient evidence. Nevertheless, he was placed under strict surveillance by security forces. Consequently, he was forced to emigrate to Israel in 1957, where he began working as an accountant for a private firm. Despite his civilian life, he harbored the dream of serving Zionism as part of the world of espionage. He applied to join Israeli intelligence twice, but was rejected as unsuitable. After Egypt and Syria announced their union in February 1958, Israel realized that the Arab-Israeli conflict was entering a new dimension. They perceived that this union would paralyze Israel's regional position in the short term, and in the long term, leave Israel trapped within an Arab pincer, maneuvered by a single political will and a unified military leadership. Israel breathed a sigh of relief when the union dissolved in September 1961. However, this did not mean the nightmare was over. The vast majority of the Syrian people still believed in Nasser's leadership, and the possibility of the Union's return persisted. Thus, the Mossad's most vital mission became preventing, at any cost, the potential reunification of Egypt and Syria. Prime Minister Levi Eshkol told the head of the Mossad, "Syria surprised us once by uniting with Nasser. From now on, no matter the cost, we must never be surprised again." The head of the Mossad understood the Prime Minister's words perfectly. They needed more than just intelligence. They needed to penetrate the depths of the Syrian and Egyptian administrations, and perhaps even shape them. Eli Cohen, now married and a father, had charted a new course for himself. But one day, a former acquaintance visited him at work and stated he was ready to recommend him for the intelligence agency. When Cohen saw that the risks were greater than he had imagined, he hesitated. He now had a wife and child to consider. Yet Cohen was exactly the person the Mossad was looking for, of Syrian descent, fluent in Arabic, raised in Egypt, familiar with Islamic culture, and deeply committed to Zionism. A few weeks later, he learned he had been dismissed from his job. He knew the Mossad was behind his termination. Finally, he surrendered himself to them. After 9 months of intensive training, by late 1960, Eliyahu Cohen was ready for his mission. Although he was eager to work in Egypt, it was decided that he would be deployed to Syria. His objective was to prevent, at all costs, the restoration of the union between Egypt and Syria, and to ensure that an anti-union government remained in power. It was determined that Cohen's mission would begin in Argentina for 2 strategic reasons. First, the Syrian military attaché there, Brigadier General Amin al-Hafiz, was well known for his opposition to the union with Egypt and the regime of Gamal Abdel Nasser. He possessed every motivation to orchestrate a coup with his supporters within the Syrian army. Second, Cohen's meticulously crafted cover story, which he would later recount in Syria, was rooted in Argentina. From that point forward, he was Kamel Amin Thabet. According to his legend, he was born in Beirut, but at the age of 3, his family moved from Syria to Alexandria. His father was a textile merchant, whose brother, having emigrated to Argentina, encouraged the family to join him. In 1947, the family arrived in Argentina. His father and uncle entered a textile partnership in Buenos Aires, which ultimately failed, leading to bankruptcy. After the deaths of his father in 1956 and his mother 6 months later, Kamel lived with his uncle before settling in Paris, where he supposedly achieved great success in the furniture trade. Every detail had been rehearsed, every connection established. His story appeared flawless. Upon arriving in Buenos Aires, Eliyahu Cohen found everything prepared: a bank account in his name, a rented apartment in the Colegiales district under the name Kamel Amin Thabet, and a list of key members of the local Muslim Arab club. He immediately began an intensive effort to integrate into high society. His vast culture, his vocal hatred for Israel, and his frequent commercial advertisements in the community newspaper Alem El Arabi earned him the admiration of the Arab diaspora, most notably its owner, Abdul Latif Hassan, who would become a close friend. Consequently, he was invited to official receptions at the Syrian embassy. Kamel Amin Thabet's reputation spread, particularly among the social elite, as one of the city's most elegant bachelors. After a year, Israeli intelligence recalled him, believing he was fully prepared for his mission in Syria. Following final preparations, he traveled by sea to Beirut and then by land to Damascus. He had been given the contact details of a local merchant who helped him secure an apartment in the prestigious Abu Rumania district, directly overlooking the Syrian General Staff headquarters and the entrance to the luxury guest house for state visitors. When the landlord requested a year's rent in advance, Cohen handed over £1,300 in cash without hesitation. News of the wealthy new tenant spread rapidly, exactly as planned. Kamel had become the right man in the right place at the right time, a millionaire businessman returning to his homeland. The doors of Damascus high society swung open for him. His checkbook won over the men, while fur coats and gifts from Paris convinced the women that he was a devoted patriot, thinking only of his country's interests day and night. While intelligence agencies typically require their spies to blend in as ordinary citizens, sometimes remaining sleepers for years, the Mossad took the opposite approach, sensing that time was not on their side. They chose a lifestyle for their agent that was designed to attract rapid attention. A millionaire from abroad, spending lavishly and donating to the activities of the ruling Syrian Ba'ath Party. These vast sums were transferred from Israel to Kamel Amin Thabet in Damascus via a bank in the United States under the guise of his accumulated dollar savings. One day, Kamel received a startling proposal. George Saif, the director of Syria's radio broadcasts targeting Latin America, suggested that Kamel utilize his expertise to bolster the patriotism of Syrian expatriates. Kamel was to produce and host a special program for Syrians living abroad. He did not miss this opportunity. This program, broadcast from the heart of Radio Damascus, became yet another conduit for transmitting secret coded messages to Israeli intelligence in Tel Aviv. Kamel could now send his dispatches through multiple channels. First, under the guise of a successful international businessman, he hid intelligence inside crates of artwork sent to a prearranged address in Paris. Second, he used the radio transmitter provided by the Mossad, concealed in his apartment overlooking the Syrian army headquarters. Finally, he embedded coded messages within his targeted radio broadcasts from Damascus, which were then recorded and decrypted by the Mossad. Eli Cohen was costing Israeli intelligence vast sums of money, but they were undeterred. The objective justified every expense. Through this infiltration, Israel could monitor, almost in real time, the latest political developments within the ruling Ba'ath Party, Syria's political stance toward Egypt, its relations with other Arab nations, and most critically, all military plans regarding the strategically vital Syrian fortifications on the Golan Heights. After his initial preparation period in Damascus, the time came for Israeli intelligence to review the situation and prepare for what lay ahead. Under the pretext of liquidating some of his business interests, he traveled to Argentina, then to Europe, and finally to Israel. Kamel returned to Syria with even greater resolve. He knew he could fully trust George Saif, the director of Syrian radio, for Saif was also working for Israeli intelligence. Together, they began hosting lavish, entertainment-filled parties to which influential Syrians, particularly high-ranking officers loyal to the Ba'ath Party, were invited. These gatherings were more than social events. They were arenas where state decisions were shaped and disputes between top brass were resolved. Among the guests at one of these parties was Colonel Salim Hatoum, commander of a key base on the Golan Heights. Hatoum remarked to Kamel, "After dozens of days spent without seeing the sun in the tunnels and bunkers we've built against Israeli airstrikes on the Palestinian border, it is an absolute pleasure to be here tonight." When Kamel expressed concern that Hatoum might be exaggerating, the colonel invited him to the base itself. He could come and see everything with his own eyes. Colonel Hatoum viewed Kamel as a loyal patriot, a confidant of the regime, and one of their own. Kamel soon received a telegram from the front commander inviting him to the base and began the formal procedures to obtain the necessary travel permits. Kamel indeed went there, to the most critical military site between Syria and Israel. As soon as he transmitted the details of the fortifications to Tel Aviv, instructions arrived immediately. Try to conduct another tour. We lack information on the third sector. The Syrian army, in coordination with the Egyptian army, had prepared a three-tiered defense in the region, a development of which Israeli intelligence was learning for the first time. Kamel began showering his friends with expensive gifts, and the front commander himself became a close friend who would visit Kamel whenever he came to Damascus on leave. A while later, Kamel received a telegram requesting his return to Tel Aviv. There were many questions regarding the future of the Syrian leadership that communication devices could not answer. He informed them that Amin al-Hafiz, the former military attaché in Argentina, would be Syria's next strongman, consolidating the roles of president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Before Kamel even returned to Syria, the coup of March 8, 1963 took place. From that moment on, Kamel's path in Syria was paved with roses. To celebrate the new regime, Kamel hosted a grand party for all supporters of the new administration. He welcomed his guests as the premier friend and benefactor of the government. It was there that he met a Syrian contractor who had undertaken the project to divert the Banyas River. This project was of vital importance to Syria and the entire Arab world. The headwaters of the Jordan River were to be redirected, cutting off Israel's primary water source. The volume of transmissions sent by Kamel to Israel increased dramatically. Operational orders, Ba'ath Party resolutions, armament plans, topographical sketches, and even intelligence embedded within Mossad's own broadcasts via Radio Damascus. The frequency of the lavish parties at Kamel's residence grew, and he began taking photographs of his guests to be used later as tools for blackmail. The new Syrian administration began entrusting Kamel with significant responsibilities, including a mission to convince wealthy Syrian expatriates to invest their capital back home. Kamel confirmed the viability of this task, but insisted he had convinced these investors that they had a right to know how their money was utilized. If it funded classified defense projects, he assured them he would keep those secrets personally. During this period, President Amin al-Hafiz traveled abroad for a secret medical trip. To his astonishment, news of his departure was broadcast on Israeli radio only hours later. Who had leaked this information? Days later, the scenario repeated itself. The Syrian leadership was paralyzed with shock as Israeli radio reported accurate details regarding the Banyas River project, recent military movements, and other highly classified decisions, despite only a handful of individuals having access to such information. Kamel Thabet remained in Damascus, seemingly above suspicion, and was even considered for a high-ranking official post. He continued to transmit intelligence to Israel regularly, using a secret transmitter hidden in his bedroom. This was a grave error. An intelligence operative should never operate a transmitter from the same fixed location for an extended period. However, Kamel was entirely confident that the Syrian security apparatus had collapsed, that the ruling clique was preoccupied with internal struggles, and that his intimate ties with the Ba'ath leadership rendered him untouchable. Yet the net was tightening around him due to separate coincidental investigations by Syrian intelligence. In October 1964, he received an urgent encrypted message from Mossad headquarters in Tel Aviv, ordering his immediate return. 2 weeks later, Israeli fighter jets launched a series of airstrikes, annihilating the water diversion canals and all project equipment intended to redirect the Jordan River's headwaters. In a single day, Israel eliminated any attempt by Arab nations to alter the river's course. Damascus was in total shock, not only due to the surprise attack, but because of the surgical precision with which Israel hit its targets. Syria realized it was completely exposed. For the security services, the realization was agonizing. For Israel to act with such precision, it must have possessed Syria's greatest secrets. It must have had an eye that saw and an ear that heard within the highest echelons of leadership. Who could this traitor be? He had to be someone in the upper circles. When Kamel returned to Damascus, he sensed a shift in how he was received in the offices and homes of senior officials. This change did not stem from direct suspicion toward him, but rather from new protective measures taken by Syrian security to restrict the number of people privy to state secrets. The situation had turned grave and extremely perilous. Intelligence directors in Israel were well aware of the risks of keeping their agent in Damascus. However, they faced a twofold dilemma. Mossad director Meir Amit was in a race against time to extract every possible detail regarding the Syrian fortifications on the Golan Heights. Furthermore, the investment Israel had made in this agent was so immense that they felt compelled to utilize him to the absolute limit, even if it meant significant risk. But plans that were flawless on paper were about to collide with the reality on the ground. One morning, a signal pierced through the silence of Damascus. According to some, the signal was a radio transmission intercepted by Syrian intelligence, a clandestine frequency emanating from Cohen's apartment toward Israel. The moment the frequency began, Syrian authorities cut the electricity to the apartments one by one. When Kamel Amin Thabet's power was severed, the transmission ceased. Others claimed the Indian embassy nearby had complained of interference on its own radio channel. As Syrian security units began investigating all transmitters in the vicinity, this seemingly coincidental chain of events transformed into the trail of a spy. In another account, Syrian intelligence was already pursuing a different operative. During their surveillance, they noticed another individual communicating with their target, a Syrian businessman named Kamel Amin Thabet. From that moment, Cohen became a marked man. And, according to some, it was all a trap set by Colonel Salim Hatoum. By infiltrating Cohen's inner circle and gaining his trust, he fed him information designed to make Cohen believe it was urgent to transmit immediately, thereby allowing the source of the frequency to be pinpointed. That day, Cohen turned on his radio, but this time he was not met by his Israeli counterparts, but by Syrian security forces. Regardless of the version, on that morning in 1965, an era ended in a quiet apartment in Damascus. Eli Cohen, or Kamel Thabet as Syria knew him, was led away in handcuffs, leaving behind one of the deepest scars in the history of espionage. The political leadership in Damascus was determined to keep Cohen's trial secret. The motive was to prevent a public uprising, fearing that the Syrian people would realize the extent of the government's negligence in safeguarding national security. Israel, meanwhile, operated through back channels and intermediary states, informing Syria that they were prepared to release 10 Syrian spies held in Israeli prisons and pay a $1 million check in exchange for the life of Eliyahu Ben-Shaul Cohen. When Syria rejected this offer, Israel shifted to overt tactics. The Mossad initially denied any connection to Cohen, launching a massive propaganda campaign alleging that the Syrian government was anti-Semitic and was prosecuting an innocent Jew solely because of his faith. Numerous international figures intervened, appealing to Syria for clemency, including Queen Elizabeth II, 22 members of the British House of Commons, a former Canadian Prime Minister, a former French head of state, the International Amnesty Committee, the Argentine Foreign Minister, and the Pope. The Israeli government appointed 2 high-ranking French lawyers to defend him under the pretext of being commissioned by his wife and family. However, the Syrian state refused to grant them any cooperation. Cohen's trial in Damascus proceeded rapidly. Following his capture in January 1965, the proceedings concluded on March 19, and the Syrian president ratified his death warrant. The sentence was carried out in a public execution on May 18, 1965. The life and bitter end of Eli Cohen remain one of the most dramatic chapters in the intelligence wars of the region.